So, did you catch Summerslam? If you did, what did you think? Let me know in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from you. I thought the show was pretty good. I enjoyed all the matches, and of course there was one standout moment which is going to be our talking point for today's video, because it was the arrival of the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, making his in-ring debut, and I was left in awe. How good was it? Not even the poor performance of the WWE network could spoil that for me. Anyone else get that problem? If you did, WWE really need to sort that out. Not great. However, how good was the Fiend? Now, I've been kind of worried about how the Fiend would arrive in WWE. Kind of nervous that they would indeed give him the same style entrance, and the entrance was similar, but the subtle changes were perfect. The adjustment to the entrance music, love that. The lantern that Bray Wyatt now carries, almost like the old Bray Wyatt is no more. The Fiend has eaten up that original Bray Wyatt. Oh, so good. But with all that in mind, it really got me thinking about WWE 2K20. And this looks like quite a lot of work for 2K if we are going to get the Fiend in this year's game. Now, at this moment in time, we're in August. So it's August, September, October. So it's just under 3 months now until the game is released. That's not long. And you have to think that with the Fiend making his in-ring debut just last night at Summerslam, are 2K going to be able to get this in the game in time? Now, I think it comes down to a few circumstances. And that's why I think it's not as, simple as that the Fiend won't be in the game or the Fiend will be in the game. It really depends on the organisation of WWE and if they've communicated things to 2K. Because from what I've understood in the past, the reason why certain superstars weren't updated is because 2K never got the heads up or got the go ahead. So if WWE have been planning this for some time and they have been keeping 2K in the loop, then for example, when Bray Wyatt came up with this gimmick, they could have told 2K that we need 2 character models for Bray Wyatt in this year's game. The first being the happy-go-lucky Bray Wyatt from the Firefly Funhouse, and the second being the Fiend. Now, I'm sure there would have been concept art drawn up for both of these characters, and back at that point when we were first introduced to the happy-go-lucky Bray Wyatt, that's what I'm going to call him, that was a fair while back now. So if the detail had been given over to 2K, they could have definitely got that model in place and ready, or at least got the scans of Bray Wyatt so they had his look, and then they could have tweaked and applied the attires. But it really does depend how well WWE have communicated with 2K. Say for example SummerSlam and that entrance. Now, I'm sure that would have been choreographed a fair few times. It would have been thought about plenty of times by WWE and of course Bray Wyatt in the way it worked, particularly the way he came to the ring. Now, wouldn't it have been great? And again, this might have happened, I don't know, but I'm just trying to shed some light on whether or not we will get Bray Wyatt as the Fiend in WWE 2K20, and what we should take into consideration what probably needed to have happened for him to appear in it. If it did or it didn't, we don't know yet. But in terms of that entrance, because Bray Wyatt wasn't on WWE TV, that means he wasn't travelling from arena to arena week in, week out. He was recording his Firefly Funhouse gimmick. He could have been flown over to do his motion capture for his own entrance. What better way to perform the Fiend than by the Fiend? because I'm sure he would have worked out how he wanted that entrance to look. So if that had been done, again, would have given 2K more time to get this model in the game. Now you have to think about that entrance. It's not just the fact the way Bray Wyatt comes to the ring. He's got new entrance music, like I said. You also had new camera cuts. You had those fades each time to try and make it more obscure and obscene with the Fiend character, which would look fantastic in a WWE game. And as well, you've got that lantern that would need to be designed. Now with the lantern, much like the mask, if there was concept art designed, and from what I understood, Bray Wyatt did a lot of work on this, if those designs had been given to WWE saying this is what needs to be made, if they've been shot over to 2K, then they could have prepped for it. But you see what I'm saying here? It's not just a case of put the Fiend in a WWE game. It's everything that comes with it, even including, and is going as far to say, the moveset. He now uses the mandible claw. When did Bray Wyatt ever do that until he became the Fiend? So there is a lot of things that 2K would have had to have thought about to include him. And I feel at the moment, with us in August and October not far away, if the preparation which I've mentioned just now hasn't been put into place, then we won't be seeing the Fiend and he will not be let in to WWE 2K20. Now does that mean that the Fiend isn't going to be in the game, or won't or shouldn't be in the game? Well, even though WWE may or may not have given 2K all the detail to build that model for the game's release, I tell you what, it would be very hard to take on board that we're not going to get to play as the Fiend at all this year from a model that was created by 2K. Obviously, we will get some amazing creations. We've already got them in WWE 2K19, but it would be good for 2K to give us the proper model. And I think that's possible still, even after the game comes out. Now 2K are introducing this DLC concept. It's slightly different this year, where they're focusing on 2K originals. We don't know if we're going to get superstars as part of the DLC this year. But one thing I would say for 2K, which would certainly appease the WWE universe if Bray Wyatt and the Fiend character isn't in from day one, is to build a DLC pack which includes not only the happy-go-lucky Bray Wyatt, it includes not only the Fiend Bray Wyatt, but it also includes a playable area which is the Firefly Funhouse, with interactive props being all the puppets that Bray Wyatt brings to the table. I mean, for me, that would be the best DLC, because I do want to get my hands on the Fiend to play as him in WWE 2K20. And I just think that, in a way, it is slightly unacceptable if Bray Wyatt, as the current version of what he is now, is missed out this year. Because that's a long time to wait to then get the Fiend. And no doubt, knowing Bray Wyatt and his history with WWE, by the time we get to WWE 2K21, he probably won't even be the Fiend anymore. So I think that we may not get him on day one, and that is if WWE have not been speaking to 2K constantly about ensuring that Bray Wyatt stays up to date for this year's game. If they haven't, we're in trouble. And I can't blame 2K for that. Not at all. Nobody can. It's on WWE to give the heads up, give the clearance. They know, and their product chops and changes so much that it must be so difficult to keep the models up to date, ready and fresh each year for a new game. However, if 2K can't get that model of Wyatt in from day one, they must try and appease it. They must say to WWE, come on, we can't have a whole year go by without the Fiend in our game. He's huge at the moment. We must put him in. So let's make a DLC, a special DLC. Even if it was not planned to have this DLC, the fact that he's not in, they need to do it. And they build something very cool, a one-off downloadable piece of content, which is, like I said, Happy-Go-Lucky Bray, Fiend Wyatt, and of course the Funhouse itself, which you can play and interact in. To me, that is then saying, look, it wasn't our fault, we couldn't do it for the start, but instead we've taken a step to make it right. So what do you think? Will 2K let him in? Or will the Fiend miss out on WWE 2K20? I want to get your views and opinions on it in the comment section below. One thing I do want to mention about the Fiend, which I think would be rather cool, me and my brother talked about this, was the fact that he uses the mandible claw, and it seems like that's going to be one of his priority moves in a WWE game as and when he gets it. But in terms of him being in the WWE and using that, what I thought would be cool would be to tie in his puppets with the mandible claw. Mercy the buzzard. Imagine having that stuffed down your throat. The beak of the buzzard as part of the mandible claw. I actually think he should do that. Whether or not he does it with the Fiend or whether he does it with Happy-Go-Lucky Bray, I don't know. But if he took someone as the Fiend to the Funhouse, I could actually see that being a really cool kind of sadistic torture sequence for that superstar, where he goes to put the mandible claw on that superstar that he's taken and kidnapped. Goodness me, we're getting very morbid right now, but he does that, and this is the sadistic Bray Wyatt that I think we've wanted to see for a long time. But he takes him to the Firefly Funhouse. It's hard to say that quickly, you know, but he does, and he goes to do the mandible claw, but it's not the normal mandible claw with the gloves on. Instead, it's with Mercy the buzzard. Ugh, that beak right down someone's throat. Anyway, I just thought I'd add that in there because me and my brother were talking about it and we thought, great extension of the Bray Wyatt gimmick, and also includes the puppets and makes them more noteworthy too. But there you go. Anyway, I want to get your views on the main topic. What did you think of SummerSlam? But of course, are we going to get the Fiend in WWE 2K20? Let him in, 2K. Let him in.